apologize. Okay, thank you. Today is the joint board work session for Clackamas Fire District 1 and Sandy Fire District number 72. At Clackamas Fire, we value our people and the people we serve. Our focus will be on establishing the teams, trust, empowerment, accountability, mindset, and service. With that, I call this meeting to order per ORS 192.610 to 192.710. ORS 192.650, the meeting is being recorded. The video recording of this meeting will be placed on the Clackamas Fire and the Sandy Fireworks websites. Is there any public comments? I will ask the citizens if any district business. If you'd like to provide a public comment, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen. If you are calling in, you can select *9 to raise and *6 to mute unmute. And each person will have up to 3 minutes to share their comments and questions. Please state your name, the city you reside in at the beginning of your question and comments. Tracy, do we have anybody?
So I'm going to scroll through the list of attendees here real quick to see if I see anybody that is raising their hand.
I see some.
No. So let me find them. Looks like William Gifford, and I will move him over to allow him to talk. And he should be coming over.
How will I know when I'm over?
We can hear you, and you are now over. So go ahead with your. Sorry about that. Go ahead with your question or comment.
I'm over. Thanks very much for the opportunity. My name is William Gifford, and I live in Oregon City. I want to take the opportunity to thank you all very much for all the work that you're doing. It's important to our whole community. And I want you to know that we are watching what you're doing and we appreciate what you're doing. I'm sorry I didn't have more time to prepare for this. I have 2 other meetings booked for tonight, and I'm not going to be able to stay very long, but I do want to poke my nose in and thank Kurt for the interview this afternoon. And you're doing good work. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Is there anybody else? Hearing none.
I don't see anybody else with their hand raised.
Can we move to the next slide?
Real quick. I'm so sorry, Tracy. There are a couple hands raised.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I just saw their hands go up, so let me move them over and allow them to talk. Okay. So it looks like we have Libby and Dave, and they should be coming over. So Libby, and if there's a Dave. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, you're able to talk.
This is Libby.
Hi, Libby.
Officially Libby Medley. I'm at the upper end of Wildcat Mountain Drive. My mailbox is Sandy, but I don't live in Sandy. I'm 10 miles outside of the town. My one comment I want to make is during the fire period that we had, where we had to evacuate, I thought you guys did an excellent job of keeping us informed, and really appreciated knowing that we were at phase 1 or phase 2, and having a map that showed that while I was at phase 3, should be leaving, people across the street from me were at phase 2. So I figured I had a little breathing room, and it was really nice to know that.
Thank you, Libby. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your participation. Who is the next person, Tracy?
It looks like we have Dave McNeil.
Hi, Dave. Welcome.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of silly having a comment before, so.
Dave, would you
Have a
please state
comment
your
afterwards,
address
so.
and city?
Yeah, Dave McNeil, Oregon City.
Okay.
So I guess not much to say because we don't know what's going on. So my question is there time to comment after this meeting?
There is.
Okay, well, I'll save my time till then. I'm kind of surprised that we didn't learn our lesson with Estacada, but here we go again. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. Is there anybody else, Tracy?
I don't see anybody else with their hand
Okay.
raised. Mhm.
Kurt, could you move to the next screen? This is Clackamas Fire District Board. I am Thomas Joseph, the president. Marilyn Wall is vice president. Is Marilyn in yet?
Let me check.
No, we are yet to
No.
see.
No, not yet.
Okay, Jim Syringe, Jay Cross, and Chris House are the directors. And I will turn it over to Chief Schneider to introduce his staff and the board and rest of the agenda.
Thank you, Thomas. Good evening. My name is Phil Snyder, and I'm the fire chief for Sandy Fire District 72. I'd like to welcome also and thank everyone for taking the time tonight to attend tonight's town hall. This is very important to us. And I'd like to introduce our board. So the Sandy board, our chairman is Sue Hines. Our vice chairman is Justin Stuklik. Secretary treasurer is Ron Laskowski, and director Andrew Bryan, and director Mark Monder. I'd also like to thank Chief McKinnon from Sandy Fire and Chief Yerke from Clackamas Fire. They've spent numerous hours getting data together for this process. So I appreciate all their hard work up to this point. I'll just start off by giving a little information of Sandy Fire. We protect over 25,000 citizens. We cover 77 square miles, and that includes the city of Sandy and the rural portion of Clackamas County. Sandy Fire is an all-hazard provider. We respond to all type of emergencies. Sandy is a combination department. We have 12 paid staff that run the calls. We have 2 chief officers and 23 volunteers. Out of the main station, it is staffed 24/7 with 4 personnel. We do go down to a minimum of 3, but 4 personnel per shift. And we're located in the middle of downtown Sandy. We also respond out of 2 substations utilizing volunteers. One's located 5 miles southeast of Sandy in the Dover community, and the second located in about 5 miles north of Sandy. A little history between us and Clackamas. We've always had mutual aid agreements, but due to the bordering fire district boundaries, we have a longstanding history of mutual aid and responding to incidents together. With some of our history too, with knowing in 2020, knowing that one of our we have 3 chief officers knowing that one was going to retire in June of 2020, we took this opportunity to look at options to enhance our efficiencies for the fire district and to enhance service delivery for our citizens. And so with that, we put together a group between the 2 districts. And so in July of 2019 was our first year IGA began. So we started this back in 2019. And that IGA consisted of Sandy Fire compensating Clackamas Fire for training services for both the volunteer and the paid staff. As well, as a battalion chief coverage to ensure that we have command and control 24/7. And that went very well. And so we met again, and in July this year, July of 2020, we took the IGA and it was expanded to a 2-year contract and included fleet maintenance provided by Clackamas Fire and the joint staffing of the Eagle Creek Station 18. Under this staffing agreement, Clackamas Fire provided staffing on all 3 shifts, with Sandy Fire paying for the cost of 1 entire shift. One of the factors in our decision of joint staffing was the ability to keep up with increased call volumes due to Sandy's accelerated growth. Sandy is in quite a growth as most communities are right now, but we're having a hard time dealing with those multiple calls. We responded this year, we hit the 2,600 mark. So out of the main station, we responded for 26 calls for service, 2,600 calls for service out of the main station this year. The joint staffing at 18 has enhanced our service delivery to our community and has strengthened our ability to manage back-to-back alarms seamlessly that occurs daily. This is also guaranteed a second engine company on critical calls such as cardiac arrests, injury accidents, and all types of fires. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Chief Brown from Clackamas Fire District 1.
Thanks, Chief Snyder. Appreciate you. Welcome to everybody that's here. I'd like to thank both sets of board of directors and to echo Chief Snyder, Chief McKinnon and Chief Yerke and Chief Carlson and all the effort that they've put into this. Also, I'd like to thank both sets of citizen groups that are attending this meeting. Thank you for being here. Just to give you a quick down and dirty background on Clackamas Fire, we protect over 220,000 citizens. We cover nearly 235 square miles in Clackamas County. We are a all hazard fire agency, respond to all types of emergencies from 20 community fire stations. We have technical rescue, which includes water rescue, rope rescue, USAR, which includes structural collapse, trench rescue, confined space, and hazmat. Since the 2020 wildfire season, we've learned a lot, and we put some pretty aggressive changes to include a type 2 hand crew called Crew 30. And we have a diverse assortment of responding apparatus to the incidents that we face. We serve in urban, suburban, and rural communities across our service area. And so we really truly have a diverse amount of calls and needs for service that our citizen group calls 911 for. To also build off of what Chief Snyder talked about with the IGAs starting in 2019 and the joint staffing of Station 18. This concept of Station 18 and this joint venture has proven to truly enhance the region as far as EMS response and fire response to the citizens of not only Sandy Fire, but to the citizens of Eagle Creek and to Boring. And now from a company that was a day company is now a 24/7 full-time paramedic engine company. With that, I would just like to introduce the board members that serve on this IGA committee, which it's been a pleasure to be able to get to know the 2 directors from Sandy, but we've had a lot of great conversations. And so with that, I would just like to introduce Director Mark Monder, Director Justin Stuklik, Board President Thomas Joseph, and Director Jim Searing. And so I'll turn the time over to Director Monder.
All right, can you hear me on there?
Got you loud and clear.
Got me? Okay, sorry, I might show up on a different computer. We're having some difficulties here, but yeah, first I want to thank all of you who have taken the time to join us on this virtual meeting. Your input's very important to us. The board of directors at Sandy Fire elected to conduct this study based upon current collaborative efforts that both Chief Snyder and Chief Brown alluded to with Station 18 and some internal things with training and command and control. Just on a large scale, the board of directors has a sincere desire to evaluate all options in order to maintain or improve service delivery that's cost effective to the taxpayers of the fire district. Regional collaboration needs to be part of that discussion, and our future planning efforts. And again, that's the purpose why we're here today. And I want to thank you all for joining us again.
Jim, would you want to take it from here unless, Justin, do you want to say anything?
Yes, this is Justin Stuplik. I'm also having computer issues here. So, no, I think, Mark Monders did a good job of explaining, where Sandy Fire is at with this. So, no, I don't have anything more. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you so much. For everybody's information, Jim sitting your official historian and record keeper and everything. So I give my time to Jim.
Oh, well, thank you, Thomas. I'm Jim Searing, and I've been with Clackamas Fire District 1 for 37 years, 30 years working, and now 7 years as a director. I'd like to also thank the staff from both agencies, the chiefs for setting up the town hall. I'd like to thank the consultant for assisting us, and more than anything, all of our staff, our volunteers and citizens who are on the call tonight. Our two agencies have really developed a great partnership. I serve on the interagency committee, as you see, with Director Joseph and our two colleagues from Sandy, Mark and Justin. Our committee has advanced this multi-year IGA and brought it to both boards that led up to this study. A lot of trust between our agencies has developed, a lot of collaboration, and we put a lot of effort into asking the question, how do we provide better service to both of our public constituents? And really, that's what it's all about. A real brief story. I was out at Nuts on Sports Pizza. Most of you probably know where that is. It's on Highway 26 and 212 about a month ago. I was picking up a pizza sitting in the bar waiting, and I overheard some citizens say, hey, do you know, or do you hear what's going on with the two fire departments, Sandy and Clackamas? And I perked up. They had no idea who I was, and I was listening to the conversation with interest, and they talked about how much more they see these engines and all the apparatus going back and forth than ever before. And they had a very positive conversation. So that area happens to be the area that some live in Sandy, some live in Boring on the Clackamas side, and they see all that. So I took out of that a positive message that our public, the least that lives in that area, is noticing what we're doing. So I thought that was great. Really, we're in our history, what we're doing together with Sandy and Clackamas right now is an exceptional amount of collaboration. Joint staffing Station 18 in Sandy contributing towards that. Training, command, academies, command and control, sending an effective response force, sleep maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. It's a lot. It's a lot more than you see going on anywhere else around the area. And to me, now that we've advanced to this point, it's exciting for me to hear from the consultant, to hear from our staff, our volunteers, and the members of both departments, and more importantly, from our citizens, what they think about where we all are now and where we should go in the future. So to me, in the end, it's always service above all else. And I'd like to thank everyone for chiming in tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Chief Snyder, now do we hand it over to Kurt with the AP Triton?
Yeah, if you're good with the Thomas, I'll go ahead and introduce the representative from AP Triton, which is
please do so, Nick.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So it's my pleasure to introduce Kurt Latipo from California, and had the opportunity to speak with him today and throughout the last couple of weeks. And so turn it over to you, Kurt. Thank you so much. You're on mute, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chief. And I escaped California like so many others. I'm actually in Northern Nevada, just outside of Reno.
That's right.
just down the road from you guys. I come through that area somewhat regularly. So I'd like to real quickly start with, and by the way, another one of our team members is on this presentation with me. I'll introduce the team in just a minute. So the project overview, we thank the districts for the opportunity to conduct this study. And I really want to comment on how hard the district has worked for transparency and outreach. And we're very pleased to be able to engage the community through stakeholder interviews, through the survey. And I think at the end of the day, once everything is put together, the public will see a significant amount of inputs from external and internal stakeholders. We pride ourselves at AP Triton as being a neutral third-party participant. We do not bring any preconceived notions to any of our projects. We remind ourselves on a daily basis that we take a look at the data, we do the analysis, we use research, and we use science. And that's how we come up with findings and recommendations, which I'll talk about in a minute. So you heard a lot about the IGA. During the interviews I was conducting today, I actually, and yesterday, we talked a little bit about the IGA. And I'm not going to belabor the point. However, I've commented a few times that based on my experience doing feasibility studies, these are some of the partnerships that occur early on when folks are thinking about working together. And you know, my hat is off to the forward-leaning process that you've been through. And as it's already been mentioned, Sandy pays the staff one of the 3 shifts at the Eagle Creek Station 18, which as I look at that location, that station, I'm anxious to see the data because I believe what the data will prove is that station, opening up that station to 24/7 has proved very, very beneficial. And obviously fleet maintenance is in there as well. So what kicked off the study? Again, I compliment the organizations for the way the IGA is constructed, because right within the IGA, it requires a feasibility study. And what the request for proposal that came out was an extremely comprehensive set of expectations for the consulting firm that was be awarded the contract. So the project team, we pride ourselves in looking at the request for proposal and then looking at our bench and the strength of our bench and the talent on the bench and matching the talent to the request for the proposal as well as the expectations of the clients. And that's exactly what we've done with this particular project. Myself, I'm up there, I'm the project manager. I also have the distinct honor of being the vice president of operations. I oversee all 7 business units for the company. John Stouffer and I have worked numerous projects together throughout the United States. I often refer to John as my right-hand person. And in this particular study, as well as several others we're doing together, he is just that. You'll see Melissa up there. Melissa is our project support, but even more than that, Melissa is my go-to on the development of the drafts, as well as she's a very skilled survey manager, and you'll hear from Melissa shortly. Rob McNally is our lead GIS analyst. He does more than maps. Rob's doing a deep dive into the historical performance. I'll talk a little bit more about what that entails. And Adam is writing the support programs analysis, which, as you know, as those of you who are working within the system know, there are several support programs. We'll talk a little bit about a list I've got up in a minute. Randy Parr is our lead finance subject matter expert. Randy is a retired fire chief and a certified practicing public accountant. Randy has been on projects in Oregon with me before. So, you know, the plus on that is he understands fire district finances and some of the Oregon statutes that drive that. And then John Murphy. John is a retired chief officer. as well as an attorney. We do not have him on the project as an attorney. I will assure you of that. But he is looking at management and staffing. So I'm pretty pleased with this team. I think it's very strong. Unlike some agencies, we do not hesitate to load a project with experts that I can rely on to do the data analysis and write their sections.
Kurt,
Yep.
was John with you for long? John looked familiar to me. Did he
John,
work with the Clackamas Fire before?
I don't know if he's worked with Clackamas Fire before. John and I used to work for another consulting firm a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And then, so what we've done with this project is we've broken it down into 4 phases. And as you can well imagine, phase 1 is well underway. The initial acquisition of data has been accomplished. The virtual town hall is happening right now. The community survey will be launched at the end of this meeting. So we're deep in phase 1. Phase 2, the baseline evaluation of both districts, that is ongoing right now. And the staff members or the team members that I mentioned are already producing their analysis. It's being sent to me for my review, and we're starting to draft the study. Obviously, we're not there yet, but phase 3 is where we start to bring it all together and take a look at future opportunities for cooperative efforts based on the analysis and based on what we're seeing in that analysis. And phase 4 is the development, review, and delivery of the report. And this is where the fire district's teams and our team literally work through the what we call the technical draft. And once it comes together, we're prepared to deliver that report to an open public joint meeting of both boards where you'll see the findings, the recommendations, and we're very committed when we make recommendations to analyze the impact of the recommendations, including the potential costs, if any. So those 4 phases basically make up the project, but I want to emphasize a few key points of the project. Obviously, we were retained to do the study. We're very pleased and honored. But the analysis is going to include the current service delivery, as you see, but that's a very simple bullet. But the current service delivery is an extremely deep dive utilizing GIS analytical tools to take a look at what's going on in both districts as far as call volumes, call concentrations, time of call, type of day, travel times. You heard effective response force mentioned earlier by Director Searing. We'll be analyzing what constitutes an effective response force throughout the entire study area. The organizational structure is where we review each district's organizational structure, inclusive but not limited to their authorities. You already noticed I'm carrying a certified public accountant on the team. It's extremely important when we do feasibility studies that we look at the financial sustainability of the clients, not just today, but moving forward, should we make recommendations. And a matter of fact, one of the requirements within the RFP is that we do a multiple year forecast on finances. You've already heard a couple of times about the IGA. That's the minimum we're looking at, but we're looking at much more than those services that are being shared. Deep dive into financial analysis, the micro and the macro, those growth projections that are so important as our accountant looks to do the forecasting, the multiple year forecasting that's required. He'll also take a look at capital assets, the organizational structure, equipment replacement programs, capital facilities programs, and everything that's within the district's budgets. We also will be looking to identify opportunities, and not just opportunities, but challenges to the opportunities in the event some of the recommendations might be for future collaboration or integration. We do not take this task on lightly. We spend a considerable amount of time reviewing everything that's allowable by Oregon statute, and then what could be done with expansion of agreements. And then we don't just say, here you go, you ought to do this. We provide recommendations on various options based on the analysis and based on what's been developed during the analysis and the research. As I was preparing for this project, reviewing the IGA, and now talking with people, with stakeholders, internal and external, what I've come to realize is, yes, the IGA talks about fleet, talks about training, talks about the staffing of Station 18, talks about command and control. I got that. But what's come to light during the initial stages is that the organizations are already starting to fully integrate the whole host of services and response demands that you would see with a typical all-risk fire district. Admittedly, water rescue, technical rescue, and the ambulance is based at Clackamas. However, the access across the border is nothing short of phenomenal. So I mentioned at the beginning of my overview how strongly I felt that the inclusion of the public is so important in these studies. We always recommend, even if it's not in the RFP, that community input take place. We believe an important part of the community input and of our feasibility study is the survey, is the input from the public. And again, my hat is off to the districts. Matter of fact, truth be told, what is going on with this feasibility study, I'm taking a look as moving forward at the amount of community involvement that's taking place during this study, and I'm implementing it already in some of our other projects. I'd like to introduce Melissa, who will walk us through the next few slides.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Cannot hear you, Melissa.
Not? Can you hear me
Too
now?
low. A little more.
Can you hear me?
Better.
Okay. I'll try to speak loud. So good evening. I'm Melissa with AP Triton. I build and manage the survey portions of our projects. I'll take a minute to give an overview of the survey process, and then we'll get into more detail about the specific questions. As part of this study, we're surveying you, the communities of Sandy and Clackamas. The survey is completely confidential, and we will not know the names of anyone that completes the survey. The compiled results will be used to inform our study, to assist in guiding our recommendations, and the results will be published in our final report. Because of this, I ask that you please be candid in your responses. Your feedback is essential to a meaningful survey. We'll be looking at several different components within the survey. We'll be looking at your expectations, which considers things such as levels and types of service, how your personnel behave, and any other expectations that you might want to provide. We'll also be looking at positives and concerns, things that the districts do well and things that you might find worrisome or problematic. You'll have a chance to rank the service priorities provided by the districts. And then finally, we'll look at opportunities for partnerships and other advantages or disadvantages that you might want to consider. Next. Okay, so the next few slides will overview the specific survey questions that you'll be seeing in your survey. The first question is a multiple choice question to help us get a baseline for those who are responding, and whether you are a resident, business owner, or both. It's very important that you answer this question to the best of your ability, because we can use the information to sort out where specific issues may be occurring, and therefore offer the districts more guided direction for the future. Questions 2 through 6 are open-ended style questions. They focus on your expectations of the fire districts. I want you to please note that these are based on your opinions and that there are no right or wrong answers. Next. The next series of questions center on emergency services you've actually received. So questions 7 through 9 will help us determine if you received services personally or not. If you haven't received services from the district, you can move ahead and skip 8 and 9. Question 10 is the service priority ranking question. That's where, like Kurt went over, the services provided by your districts and where there's overlap. This will give you a chance to tell us which services are most important to you. The survey is a drop-down type style so that 1 is most important and 10 is least important. You'll also have a chance to drag and drop the services with your mouse and rearrange them until you're satisfied. This one I would encourage you to spend quite a bit of time because there are quite a few services that are listed, and you really want to make sure that you have them in the order that are most important to you as compared to all of the others. Questions 11 and 12. So you'll see 11, but we'll switch in a minute. They focus on response times. And I'm going to give a just quick overview for someone who might not be familiar with response times. Total response time is the amount of time that a resident or business waits for the arrival of scenes at an emergency from when you first call 911. For the fire districts, this is made up of several components. Call processing time is the amount of time from when you call 911 to when responders are notified of the emergency. Turnout time is the time beginning when your responders are notified of an incident to when they depart on an apparatus. And this is the component where the districts have the most control to improve. Travel time is the time it takes responders to travel to an incident. This is impacted by distance, traffic control systems, weather conditions, and other components that are really outside of the control of the fire districts. So considering these factors, the questions will ask you to consider how long you believe it should take emergency services to arrive after you call 911 and how critical response times are to you. Next. The final set of questions center on partnership of the fire districts, the advantages and disadvantages, and your support of expanding their partnerships. We do give a final concluding question for you to add anything that we didn't touch on in the survey. You can use this space to provide any other details that you'd like us to know. And I just want to reemphasize the fact that the survey is anonymous, so we have no way of tracking your personal information or linking you back to what input you've provided. So again, the more candid you can be, the more meaningful of a survey we'll get, and it'll help guide our efforts. So on behalf of AP Triton and the districts, I thank you for participating.
Kurt, you're muted, sir.
Thanks for a reminder. I want to emphasize before we go to questions, the process is very much underway. Outcomes have not been determined. A significant amount of analysis is happening now. And as I stated at the very beginning, we're neutral, we're third party, we have no preconceived outcomes, and we're waiting as the different associates work through their tasks. For the purpose of the survey, when you come to questions, myself or Melissa will try to field those questions. But at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Josh, and he will facilitate the questions. And then when you're ready, Josh, I'll go to the link.
Josh, can we take the screen share off so we can see everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go back when you're ready for the link, Josh.
Yeah, that sounds good. And what I'd like to do is encourage everyone to just type their questions into the chat. especially if it's specific to the survey. And then if it's questions that are outside of the survey and what was presented tonight, we'll probably address those outside of the meeting.
Now, first, Josh, why don't we just ask opportunity for our participant panelists to give questions, and then we'll go to outside
Okay,
citizens or questions typed in.
that sounds good. Thank you, President Thomas.
Okay, participant panelists, any questions from any one of you? No? But I have a question to Melissa and Kurt. You know, the citizens, I don't think have any detailed knowledge of expectations of services level. So I'm wondering if with your knowledge and experience, if you could give us an example of what they could be expecting or rating of the services the community can expect. Just give them a little bit of an education for them. That's what I mean.
But Melissa, why don't you field that one first? Because, you know, you've managed all of our surveys.
Well, oftentimes we'll have unrealistic expectations. I'll be honest. A lot of times that's what we expect someone to call 911 and they want someone to arrive in 2 minutes. Well, that's why I gave an overview of total response time, because that's just not, the fire department has very little control in the grand scheme of total response time. So we'll see other things like CPR being offered, or fire alarm checks for elderly, or there are so many services that fire departments everywhere provide. So it's just really scaling on that individual level rather than, like, we know what the services are, but what are we missing, or what might someone else need that we're just not seeing?
Thank you. Any other panelists have any questions to Melissa or Kurt? Okay, if there is none, then Josh, could you take the?
Yeah, yes, I can. We've got a couple of questions that have come in. So we'll start here first with Regina Adams. She has asked, what will Sandy Fire do if Clackamas decides not to continue with current agreement for services or for future collaboration? And I think that's probably best for Chief Snyder there.
Thanks, Chief. Well, you know, we have a 2-year agreement, so it gives us some time that, you know, that we could move into a different plan. At this time, again, we had one leave here, and that gave us the opportunity to spend that money in more, you know, what we felt effective. We get more bang for our buck, let's say. So we've done all these things ourselves, the training, the command and control, and all those, but we're seeing an increase, obviously, with sharing and efficiencies of sharing this with Clackamas. I do think, you know, we mentioned earlier, it is a partnership. I don't feel like, you know, a lot of people think, you know, the big brother's coming to take somebody over, and this is really came, you know, from Sandy Fire, that we just knew that we needed some help with some of these the call volume that we're dealing with, and with that, again, the partnership, I think, between the Eagle Creek community and the east end, let's say, of Boring, I think has benefited, as Chief Brown mentioned, all communities in our area. With the new systems, how we're all just helping each other out. So I feel, again, it is a great partnership. It's just not like Clackamas is going to pull out because they're looking at their communities of the east end of Boring and the communities of Eagle Creek, and it's been a good partnership going both ways.
Thank you. Josh, you're going to deal with all the questions, right?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
And just as a reminder, it'd be really helpful if folks could let us know which fire district they're residing, so we know where the questions are coming from. It'd probably be obvious based on the content, but all right. So the next one we have here is Casey Ranstead. How are surveys being distributed, and who is expected to receive them? So Kurt, I'll let you take that.
Sure. The surveys are being distributed electronically. The districts we'll be posting the links. I'll have a link at the end of the questions. And I think the other question is who's going to be receiving it? Everyone will receive it that logs into either one of the websites. There's been a fair amount of outreach on the survey. And after we close the meeting, the survey is going to be available until next Monday. So that's being distributed electronically. That's the easiest and quickest way to tally it. And I want to emphasize what Melissa commented on already. The survey results are not going to the districts. I mean, it's going direct to Melissa, our survey manager, who will compile the charts, the graphs, and the responses, and then it will be built into the report. So I think that's an important point to mention.
Very good. Thank you, Kurt. All right, the next one we have here is R. Miller's, and it says, if the two departments come together, what happens to staff, volunteers, and equipment of Sandy Fire? Phil?
Well, again, I think we're not, we just have to see where this study really takes us. But I think both parties are not looking at, an instant merge. I think this is to show what we're doing today is a good thing. I mean, we've already seen that. And what else we can do together, again, to make a strong partnership between our communities.
Thank you, Phil. Bear with me. Let me make sure I get to the correct next answer or question here. All right, Regina Adams again, is relying on community volunteers sustainable for Sandy with the projected growth? Phil?
We're like everybody else. We used to hold probably 50 volunteers and we're now at about 23 volunteers. I've been in Sandy all my life, a little history for myself. I grew up in Sandy, so it's, I'm not like new to the city. I've been here all my life. I've been with the Sandy Fire District for 46 years of going out for service. And yeah, I mean, that's nationwide as we're seeing, how can we maintain and sustain volunteers to do a combination. And that's why we are a combination department. We use our volunteers quite a bit. And even the last 2 years of sharing resources with Clackamas back and forth, our volunteers are now training together, and both sides have volunteers and we both believe in that. And I think it's a great augment to the district. But what we've done is we've guaranteed, as we all know, sometimes at nights or during the days, people are working further out of town. We do not get the volunteers responders like we used to. And so what we've basically done for us is guaranteed that when you call 911, you're going to get a staffed engine. We still look at our volunteers come in and they can get a rig out, a second, third rig out. That's great. We will all work together on that. So yeah, we're all dealing with that, and we've dealt with that with years. We still do academies every year. We still get, for Sandy up to probably 8 to 10 people a year, but we seem to be losing about the same amount. And that's not really anything new in the last few years. Just as we know, studies show that more people are having to work longer hours, working out of their living area. And it's just harder and harder to work, a 12-hour day with driving and then run back up for us. So we're realizing that, and that's why we're looking at it, also augmenting other measures to make sure that when the community calls 911, we're going to be there for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Phil. Nick, did you have something to add? It looked like you may have.
No, I just was listening to Chief Snyder.
Perfect.
Come out, buddy.
I thought I guess to add to that, I think you answered that question very well, Chief Snyder. What we have done together, partnering, has helped you in that second do apparatus, and what you've done for us in Eagle Creek has helped us in that second do response reliability. And so it's that partnership together that is super special about this.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick. The next one we have here is Carl Exner, and that's from Sandy. Can you describe the kinds of services that you are planning to combine the two fire districts?
So right now, there was a list there that basically shows we both are all hazards. We basically do the whole list except for the technical rescue and the hazmat type, where our guys are just to the awareness operations level. Clackamas has a technician level. And I guess that's one of the biggest things I've noticed though is we can talk about that later on standards, but there's certain things that need to happen at a house fire and different critical calls. And one of my things I see is, we're getting such a mass amount of equipment and people that is making a big difference for Sandy Fire that we could not produce. We could get the first engine out, within our time limits. That's but getting that second and third rig out is where that's the problem. And the massive resources, like I said, it's so impressive. I got to say, from Clackamas, when we have a technical rescue, it's just all hands on deck. We get multiple equipment and personnel. And so again, the command and control that we're doing also, we get a very top-notch battalion chief every single time that does an awesome job. And that's all they do is run operational scenes. So as chief, I feel so good sitting in my seat knowing that our district is getting taken care of.
Perfect. Thank you, Phil. We don't have any new questions in here.
Josh,
Yeah.
we promised Dave an opportunity to speak at the end. Dave, are you still in the audience? Tracy, could you connect him so he can speak?
We have a Dave Holmes that is still on.
No, Dave, was it Dave
Yeah.
McNeil?
Yeah, I'm not seeing the other Dave.
So
Yeah.
he must have left.
Mhm.
Thomas, I believe he's exited.
Yeah.
I got a text message. I think he had to go to another meeting.
Oh, okay. Well, I wanted to make sure we give everybody an opportunity to speak if they want to speak up. So, any other comments from the chiefs or directors?
Ready for
Looks
the,
like we have another couple questions that have slid in. So that,
Okay,
perfect.
go ahead.
So let me get to those and make sure I'm doing those in the order that we received them. So, okay. Keaton Johnson has, let's see here. Says, not a question per se. I live in Sandy, have a huge respect for both Sandy and Clackamas Fire. I've had a good bit of interaction with both and am grateful for the way they have been partnering. I look forward to whatever direction the study takes the communities, and I'm thankful that it is being looked at closely. Thank you for what you're doing. Yep. Okay. Any other hands up, Tracy, or any other questions or chats that I may have missed?
I'm not seeing any hands that are up for the attendees. Maybe a couple of seconds to see if anybody does.
Any closing comments from Chief Snyder and Chief Brown?
So we do have a raised hand from Jerry Kearney.
Okay,
If he wants to send over a chat or.
please.
Okay.
Hey, Tracy, this is Jim. Jerry being one of the Volunteer Association officers, maybe is it okay to bring him over via voice if he has something to say? Because the volunteers are a big stakeholder in this.
Yeah, I think she's going to.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Yeah, I just made Jerry able to talk.
Oh,
So
perfect.
Jerry, if you want to
Thank
unmute. Yeah, you're welcome. Jerry, if you want to unmute yourself.
I think I'm unmuted at this point.
We can hear you.
The question I had is, how do you foresee the meld or the blend of the two volunteer organizations if this process comes to fruition?
Chief Schneider?
Hey, I don't want to hog them all. Um, you know, it's been, I've gone to some of the, as you have, I've gone to some of the volunteer training, and I know for our side, I mean, you know, change is always hard, a little change, but you know, I think overall, our volunteers, I've had very positive that the training they're getting today is awesome training. And they're appreciating that. And I think meeting all the other people is they're finding they're, you know, it's quite a partnership that we have. I took a picture. I wish I would have had it on here the other day. We had, you know, the two of us meet together, and there was probably over 50 volunteers there. The other thing we did is this year was the first year that we integrated both from Sandy and Clackamas recruit programs, and it's going very well, and they're almost done. What was your question? The final.
No, that's okay. You answered. Thank you so much. And
Yeah.
the only reason I was putting you on the spot, Clackamas Fire has gone through several attritions with other districts, and we have worked with other volunteer organizations, and we have been able to successfully, and I didn't want them to live on their glorious days, but that's why I didn't give them the spot. But again, Phil, you answered it well, and I think unless anybody has any questions, it is 7:29, and I think we are going to, let me see, what is the message here?
Thomas, we've got one more that's come in, and I think it's just one's a great comment, and then the other one's another pertinent question. So if we could.
Please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So just to back up, Alexander had said, thank you for enhancing our service. So we appreciate all those kind thoughts and messages. And then Eric, Julie Pettis have a question. It says, Kurt mentioned that the district has been transparent about this whole thing. I'm curious how they have chosen to communicate their plans and steps with everyone in the community. And I think that's a great question, probably for Kurt and or either of the fire chiefs.
Yeah, we can both answer that.
I think both should have a 30-second comment on that. Okay. Both the chiefs.
Perfect. So Phil, you've been taking an onslaught. I'll start with this one. So what Clackamas Fire has done is we started this process, and we started in doing town hall meetings within strategically placed throughout the fire district. And we started talking mostly about the wildland update with where we were at post 2020, and then also talked about the IGA with Sandy, and specifically at that Station 18 town hall meeting. So that's how Clackamas Fire has been doing it. We also posted a video on our social media because what we're noticing is we're getting a lot of touches from our community members as far as social media. So we've really taken it to the streets to meet face to face with the public, as well as utilizing our social media platforms and our website. That's what Clackamas Fire has done.
Thank you, Nick. Phil?
Yeah, I'll just jump on that too. I mean, I think the transparency for both departments, or, you know, Chief Brown and myself, are very much so that we're not, you know, there's nothing to hide. So we feel very transparent on this whole process. And like I said, it's hard for people. You know, I remembered I mentioned that seamless, and you know, if it wasn't seamless right now, what's working? I mean, what we did. Sometimes you go back and you look at your decision. Is that the right thing to do? And I don't lose any sleep. I mean, I've been very fortunate and very happy to see what's become of the 3 stations that are working together, and the personnel, how they've bonded, and can, you know, as a chief officer, when you show up and you see all this group working as a team, you know, not you guys and you guys, it's one team right now. And it's pretty impressive. It makes you feel pretty good. So again, I think data, we're all interested in what it all shows. I think at doing the right thing. I know as I get older, I start to think more of, you know, of like, if I need 911, I really don't care what color. I just want, quick and somebody proficient to, come help me. And so I think when it comes down to that, that's really what it comes is, can we get there as quick as we can and have the best personnel trained for the community?
But trained, experienced and trained people.
Yep.
Thank you, Phil. Kurt, your last call, this is one of the town hall meetings that we called. Do you have any last comments to share?
My last comment to share is the very final slide when Jason and Josh are ready.
Hey, Thomas, can I just real quickly just add one
go
piece
ahead.
to Phil, just because I think you articulated that so well, Phil. That's the beauty about this is it's all about service. That's why we exist as a fire department. That's why Sandy Fire exists. That's why Clackamas Fire exists. It's here for you. It's here for you as members of the public. We exist for you. And ultimately that is all this is about, is it's about you and trying to deliver the best level of service to the citizens that we can and doing it together. And so thank you, Phil, for articulating it how you did, bro. So that's all I got. Thank
Could
you
you
so
share
much.
the last slide with us?
Yeah, we can do that. And I just want to thank everybody for all their questions and all the participation. This was exactly what we were looking for. And so thank you for doing that. And I'll let you go ahead and take it from here, Kurt.
I'm going to leave this up for a couple of minutes. For those of you who are watching at home, you can scan the QR code on your device. The link is there. And because this is being recording, I'm not sure when you guys are going to put the meeting up, but it will all be available to the public because it is a public agendized session. And then I'd like Josh and Jason to weigh in and share with us the outreach that's being enacted once we close the meeting for pushing out the access. And how about we start with you, Jason?
Perfect, thank you. Obviously, as stated on the slide right here, it's available. It's going to be sent out through the Sandy Post. It's also gone out through the Oregon Trail School District to all those locations, as well as our website, Facebook, and any other social media access we have, along with emails internally to our people and our stakeholders that we've already assigned to this process.
And I just noticed that Melissa put the link in, Tracy. If you can send that link to the participants, that would be very helpful.
Sure. Yes, I'd be happy to do that.
Great, thank you. And Josh, share with us how you're doing the outreach, please.
So we'll be doing the exact same thing. And actually, Tracy is probably better to answer that. I would just be saying that we're going to be posting it to our website and our social media platforms.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Josh. We should have the QR code and the link on our website and the social media platform.
And what will be nice is that this content will be included in that. So when individuals look at it, if they want to look through the questions and see what the responses were, they'll be able to do that. So that's
sure.
Great.
Hey, Josh, are you okay if Tracy just unmutes, because there's a little quirk with ours as far as posting on the website tonight. So if you're okay with Tracy,
totally fine.
Okay.
Sure. So it will most likely, it will be posted onto our website. So the clackamasfire.com, and it will be on our website first thing tomorrow morning. So sometime after 8 a.m. And then as far as our social media platforms, we have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and also LinkedIn. It's at Clackamas Fire, and that will be posted and available on all 4 of our social media platforms later this evening. So after 8:30 p.m., you'll see this link and information on our social media platforms.
Is anybody else anything else to add? Kurt, Nick, and Phil. Josh?
So on behalf of the team at AP Triton, thank you very much for the opportunity to present the overview of your study, where we're headed, and to interact with your community members. It's very, very much appreciated.
With this joint work session and town hall meeting is now adjourned at 7:37 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for participation.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.